my second book, The Power of Positive Pranking. So my 3 books, the first one, if I can hold them all, the first one was Secrets of a Schoolyard Millionaire, Power of Positive Pranking, and then The Right Way to Rock. They all actually happen in the same town. So they're not really a sequel. Like, they're all standalone novels. You can read them by themselves. But they do happen in the same school in the same town, and there are some crossover characters. So if you read them in order, or if you read all 3 of them, there is some kind of like little hidden cookies for the Watterson fans. But if you read it on its own, then it makes sense all by itself as well, because they have different main characters. I read from The Power of Positive Pranking for a couple of reasons, because I heard there was somebody out there reading it, and I always love requests. I'll take requests anytime, so happy to read it. Also, the opening scene of this book is the funnest to read out loud, because there's heaps of sound effects, and there's a real kind of like inner monologue of the main character that's dueling with the, what's going on the outside, and she's trying to keep it secret. She's trying to act natural, but she knows what's going on, and it's just a really cool opening. So yeah, so that was also another reason. But this book is also very close to my heart. It's well, actually, most of my books have a little bit of reality in them, even though they're made up. But the family of this book, the Woos, so Casey Woo is father of Singaporean, her mum's Australian. And she has a family who have otosclerosis, which causes deafness in the family. And my family have otosclerosis in their family. So my grandma, my auntie, and my dad were all deaf. And yeah, so it's just kind of like there's something that sort of just feels very homely about it. It's a very warm book for me. It makes me like want to hug it and sleep with it at night, because it feels like my family. So yeah, I think, and also it has this really strong power of like kids standing up for themselves. So it's about 3 kind of an underground activist group of kids who are trying to change the world through pranking, playing pranks, but for a good cause. And it's really important for me that kids are heard and they have their voice, and that they make sure that they're listened to. And that doesn't always happen. And so I really like to encourage kids to feel like they can have their own opinion and feel like they can and should have their own voice. So yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of things I love about that book, so it doesn't take me much convincing to have a read of it. As adults, sometimes there's this desperation to cover our ears and go la 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 and pretend that kids don't know what's going on in the world. Those days are gone. Since the internet, since devices, since television, kids know what's going on in the world, and avoiding a topic is the worst way of dealing with it. If you think that your 7 or 8-year-old is not worried about the environment and climate change and, war and all those things, then I'm sorry, but you're kidding yourself. So what I like to do is create a space, a safe space where kids can explore those ideas and question themselves, ask themselves, what would I have done in that situation? Was that wrong? Was that right? Was it the grey area in between? Is the grey area okay? Why do my parents tell me it's not okay to lie, but then when they don't want to go, babysit their friends' kids, they say that they're busy? So there's all this, they're constantly getting these messages that are quite conflicting and confusing. And I think it's really important in books to give kids space to explore that where they're safe. And there's no better place to do that than books. And I also have so much respect for kids that I think they can handle what we give them. So I'm very careful, and I think about kids and their well-being a lot when I'm writing, but I also have a great deal of respect where I'm like, you can handle thinking about this. I'm going to give you this, and I'm not going to tell you what you should do or shouldn't do, but I trust that you can handle thinking about it. My biggest piece of advice I would give to kids who want to write is there's no right way. And I know that's so terrible, but I am constantly intimidated. I, follow a whole heap of other writers online and see what their process is. And they've got big whiteboards with all the chapters on little sticky notes, and they move them around and they write. And I'm just like, like, God, you're so organized and you're so advanced and you look so clever. And then I read some writers and I'm like, oh, you write like poetry and it drips off the page and it's so beautiful. And I have, a lot of kind of like jealousy, but also self-doubt because I'm not like them. But something that I've come to realize, and this is in life as well as in writing, is like, those people and that kind of writing is there for an audience. And sometimes it's even the same audience as me that was mine that don't feel like reading my stuff at that time. They feel like reading that stuff. But there's also a place for my stuff, like the way I write and my style, and it has its place. And what you write and the way that you write and the things that you think are important has its place as well. Writing is art, right? Like, not everybody's going to like a movie or a picture or a painting or whatever, or a piece of music. And writing is exactly the same. But I think especially with kids, they don't want to read the same thing all the time. So they need a lot of variety. And so whatever it is that you're doing, if it's right for you, then it's right. So that would be my first thing. My second thing would be, when it comes to process, there's so many processes out there. And it's really, if you start Googling it, you'll lose your mind because there's so many different ways to write a book. Personally, I need to know the beginning and the end, so I know where I'm going. I need to know where I'm starting and I need to know where I'm going, but I do give myself a lot of creative freedom in the middle because that's where I have a lot of fun. And I'll lose my way a little bit and come back and whatever, but as long as I've got that like guiding, like I think of it as a lighthouse, it's that guiding beam, and I'm always trying to sail the ship there. And sometimes I'll get distracted by a pretty dolphin over here or a whale over here or whatever, but I'm going to get there. And I think that that's something that works for me. But I know I have other author friends who need a really clear structure. They need every chapter planned out until, before they can even put down a word. I am way too impatient for that. As soon as when I have an idea for a story and I know where I'm going, I'm like, what is it down the writing? I want to get to the fun part. And then when it comes to editing, I'm like, I hate editing. I'm not going to lie. But some people really like it. Some people find the writing part really stressful. And when they're finished, they're like, yes. And then they like being able to tweak and, make it neat and stuff. But, that part kills me. So I think the thing is, do what works for you. I write much better in the morning. In the afternoon, I just want to curl up on the couch and watch reality TV on my phone. Like, I'm useless in the afternoon. So I know to get up really early, get as much as I can done before I become useless. But some people are really late night writers, So I think the thing is about finding what works for you, but also remembering that the story comes first. A lot of kids that I work with can get tripped up on, grammar and spelling and checking every word in the thesaurus to see if there's a trickier, more clever word. And look, all those things are, of course, they're important, but until you have a story, you can't go back and make those bits better. And if you're stopping every sentence to try and make it as clever or, whatever as possible, you're forgetting about the lighthouse. You're forgetting about telling the story. And that's sail to the lighthouse, then come back and you can put all the commas and whatever. I still don't know where commas go. I've got 4 books signed with a publisher. And every time I send a book, my editor comes back and she's like, what's up with that comma? And I'm like, I don't know. I just hadn't put a comma in for a while. So I threw one in there. Shouldn't there? But I don't, I'm useless. But that's okay because, like I said, it comes back to like school. My talents are in storytelling. I'm about plot and telling story and action, and I need help with the other bits. And so if if you're a kid and you're writing and you're finding those bits tricky, it's okay to not be good at everything within writing. Or maybe you're really good with like lyrical words and stuff, and so maybe you should be writing poetry, but you have you struggle a bit with plots and stuff. That's okay. You can always get help. Even as adults, we get help, but focus on the thing that gives you joy and that you're good at, and then come back and mess around with the other bits later. So yeah, I think just don't get stuck on the stuff that's like, move on, sail to the lighthouse.